A long time ago, I had a pretty nice morning routine. It was when I used to day trade while living on the West Coast. Since the market opened at 6:30 a.m., I had to be up and ready to go by 6 at the latest. I'd get up and go jogging about 3 or 4 miles. I'd end up at this donut shop. I'd have a large cup of black coffee and chit-chat with the morning donut crew who were getting ready for the day. The place was owned by a family, and most of the time there was a guy cooking all the donuts and getting stuff ready. On weekends it was a mom and her 2 daughters. One was in college and one in high school. I started seeing this local doctor on Fridays and Saturdays, and we started having a regular kind of morning conversation. He told me an interesting story about drugs like caffeine. Most people have an idea that the drugs that are freely available are safe and the drugs that are illegal are dangerous. He said that is the absolute furthest thing from the truth. The only reason certain drugs are available is they can't control them. As an example, the government tried really hard to control alcohol, but they gave up because it was such an obvious failure. But about that time, during the early 20th century, was when pretty much every drug was available over the counter. If the government had had their way, they would have controlled all of them. All that changed with the creation of the medical pharmaceutical industrial complex. Right around the beginning of the 20th century, how America handled drugs and chemicals changed significantly. One of the ways that manifests today is our idea about cancer. It's a common conspiracy theory that there's a cure for cancer, but they are keeping it secret so they can keep making money. But that's only partially true. What's really true is the way the industry is structured. Most doctors who want to get into cancer research necessarily have to get a lot of funding. Other drug research is funded by companies that are already making and selling drugs and making profits. So they continue to do research, but it's the kind of research that is supposed to continually create new drugs relatively quickly. Cancer drugs are much different. Since they are still looking for a cure, anybody expecting to research cancer will need a lot of funding and a lot of time. Consequently, all the cancer research centers have borrowed a ton of money, which means all the cancer research scientists are only looking at places where a drug that can cure cancer will be relatively complicated and therefore expensive enough to pay back all that debt. This is the same structure through which all technological advances have gone through in the last 100 years or so. The only kinds of advances, either drugs, technology, or psychology, that make it through the system are the ones that can be profited from. This means they must be patentable, which means the source of the technology must be something that a small group of scientists can keep secret. Any other advances that they've discovered, from communication to psychological advances to mental abilities, are dismissed completely if they can't be turned into profits. According to this doctor, there have been plenty of ways that they discovered where you can increase your intelligence, plenty of ideas on how to improve your health, even some deep mental exercises where you can develop psychic abilities. But unless they can make money from these, they won't even pursue these ideas. Plenty of times they've been doing studies to discover new technology, but as soon as they realize they can't profit from these, they give up. He said that some doctors are very close to a cancer cure. That involves seeing cancer not as a genetic defect but a metabolic issue, which means it is easy and very cheap to cure. But because it's hard to make money from such cures, no cancer doctors even know about this. One of the interesting things that happened around the turn of the century when the medical industrial complex was born was the elimination of vitamins and other homeopathic cures. If you look in the medical literature before 1900, you'll find plenty of references to vitamins and other cheap and over-the-counter cures to a whole bunch of diseases. But as soon as they created the drug companies and the medical colleges, all that started to vanish from the medical records. Even today, doctors are prohibited by law from talking about homeopathic cures or vitamins. Most doctors aren't trained at all in nutrition, which may turn out to be the cause of nearly all modern diseases, including cancer. I used to really enjoy those early mornings. I still had the natural endorphin high from the run. I got a quick shot of caffeine, and I had a morning of trading to look forward to. This was way back during the first tech market bubble, when it was very easy to make a lot of money. When I was much younger, I hated waking up early. I'd always sleep as late as I could, but now I love the mornings, when it's still dark before sunrise. This is when everything is just beginning, when there is still so much possibility.